He's one of my favorite people in the world. Keep it going for Dan Perlman!
Oh, thank you. Thanks. Keep typing for Greg and Dina. Thank you. All right. Not too crazy. I'm trying to get better at remembering people's names. This guy gave me shit a few weeks ago in Boston for not remembering his name. Man, that is such a good way to get me to remember it. Negatively. I was like, I'm sorry, have we met before? And he like kind of snaps. He's like, yeah, we met twice. My name is Gary. And I was like, okay, I don't like Gary. Filed away. I'll remember now. My name is Dan Perlman. Hello. Very common name that I have. A lot of the people have the same names. I feel bad sometimes because I'll Google my name. Sometimes for comedy, it's just a bunch of way more successful people with the same name as me. It's a bunch of like Jew lawyers and shit, you know? I feel bad. You shouldn't be able to have the same name as somebody. We should all have to have a unique name, you know? Everyone has to have a different email address. It should be the same thing with names. Like when you have a kid and you name it, the doctors have to like type it in. They'd be like, I'm sorry, that one's taken, you know? Like try with an underscore, see if that works, you know? Just like put some numbers in there. 8963 at Hotmail. It's like, oh, 63 Hotmail. You're probably in your 50s. Like you would know more about the person. Unique name would be better. One time I dated a woman who had the same name as my mom. It's like that. It sucks, you know? Like I want to date somebody who has the same name as my mom. You're like, I want to date somebody, you know, who has like the same general look, personality, and constant belief in me as my mom, you know? Like the same name, that's a little weird. It's almost Freudian, you know? For that. It's a little odd. My girlfriend and I, we tried something different for a little while. We were in an open relationship for a little bit, which an open relationship, if anyone doesn't know how that works, okay, so basically how it works is it means that we can hook up with other people, but we only want to fight with each other. So, those are the lines. They're ironclad. Them's the rules. We set some rules and we started like, all right, we can't hook up with each other as friends because that would seem fucked up, right? But the first time we were trying to order dinner, I noticed the waiter, he was like this really tall, like handsome model dude. It's like before she could even look at him, I was just like, oh, he and I go way back. I should have mentioned he's an old friend. Like Raul is a brother, so he's off limits. You know, just ixnay. Aore. It really didn't change much at all, the open thing. Like, it really didn't change anything with our relationship at all, you know? Nobody else wants to fuck us. We like thought it was each other holding us back, but it was just everyone else's free will. So thought that'd bind us for a while, but maybe not. You can never really know. It's tough to say. Has anyone ever tried like an open sort of thing like that? Well, it's just like a weird situation. You could be like physically intimate with somebody, but you can't be like emotionally intimate with somebody else. Like if I were to have sex with another person, my girlfriend like would be okay with it. But if I were ever to like get breakfast with her the next morning, I'd have to be like, all right, you cannot tell my girlfriend about this, all right? Listen, if she asks, we just fucked, okay? Do not mention the waffles. No, we broke up. That was it was like a disaster, you know? We were open, and then we broke up. As you could say, we're closed now. Or more open than ever. You know, it's really... It's all a matter of perspective, ain't it? It's like that saying, like, oh, is the glass half full or half empty? It's like, I don't know, but another dude is filling up the glass now. That's all you can really know for sure. It was an alright split, though, I think. She's still using my Netflix account, though. I don't think she should be able to anymore, right? No. Yeah, I would just change the password, but it's not my account. It's my first girlfriend's account. So I have to call her. She doesn't even know I'm still using it. I just look like, I just don't think my most recent ex should be able to use your Netflix anymore. She's like, neither should you. Like, can you get your own? Like, I have a son. It's like, yeah, shoot for your kid and me, you know? But it's weird. It went from her to me to the more recent ex. Like, if you sleep with somebody, a Netflix account could just be passed on, you know? It's like a nice STD, you know? That's what a Netflix account is. Like, you could hook up with somebody and wake up with HPV, but also with HBO Go, you know? So it's kind of worth the risk. You know, get herpes, get a Hulu account. It's like, watch some Handmaid's Tale. When we were trying to salvage it, I was seeing a therapist at the time, right? So I was like, oh, we could talk about it, right? And so we went, but she rejected that. She was like, well, that's bullshit because your therapist, he's biased towards you. So we went to her therapist, and her therapist sided with me. That's a great feeling, you know? To get a win on the road, that's not easy. That's very difficult. I was cocky leaving that second. I was like, do you want to see a third therapist? I don't give a shit, all right? I'll see 100 of them, whatever. Let's talk to your mom, get her take. You think I care? Do you think that matters? I have the hot hand right now. Just Steph Curry of emotional intelligence here. Some people are always in relationships, though. They just go from one to the next with no break at all, you know? Serial monogamists. We all know people like that. Like, you date somebody for years and they break up and 2 days later start dating somebody else. I have a lot of friends like that, serial monogamists. I don't judge it. The thing I always find funny, serial monogamists, is how much they always glamorize the 2 days that they were single. They'll be like, you know what, I just really needed that time to myself to grow, become independent, you know? And you know what? I loved being single that Tuesday and Wednesday. I was ready to do that forever, you know? But then I met the next person I bumped into. And, like, what was I gonna do? Not project all the meaning from the last person onto this one? That's no solution. It's like, all right. I could also not, but... Do any of you guys believe in love at first sight? Yeah? A brave, lonely clap in the back. Are you with somebody who ever clapped? Are they here? No. All right. Glad it's going well. You saw her once, you love her, and now you can live your own lives. It's pretty good. That's pretty good. You kind of nailed it. I agree with that. I believe in also. But it's easy to love somebody at first sight, isn't it? You can project whatever meaning you want onto them. They're just like a blank canvas, you know? Like you meet somebody, oh, this person's going to love me, we'll support each other, grow together, and you get to know them, and you're like, okay, not quite. Like, I loved my girlfriend, but not as much as I did before I, like, knew her. You know, like, it went down a little bit. But it was still pretty good, and that's all you could hope for. I was saying that to someone, and they were like, oh, that's so pessimistic. But I don't get why that's pessimistic. In my head, she was perfect, and then she became great. They're both still positive. Most people go, oh, yeah, when I met her, I thought she was nothing. But it turns out she's something. I'm an optimist. It's like, no, you're a judgmental dick. And I'm the hero. It's like if you're hungry, nobody imagines like, oh, I'm gonna get lunch, it'll probably be bad, and you're like, oh, this is actually good. Like, that'd be psychotic. Like, no, I'm gonna get lunch, I'm gonna get a sandwich for lunch, and it's gonna taste amazing. Like, I can't wait for it. And you eat it and it tastes amazing, but it's just because you were hungry. But then you start going to the same place every day, ordering the same thing every day, eating it every day, and after all, you realize, like, okay, this isn't the greatest sandwich ever, but it's pretty good. Anyway, that's kind of what love is like. It's like that sandwich analogy. It's nice being in a relationship, though. You can be more emotional and honest and all that. I had no practice with that growing up because I only had male friends growing up. I never had any female friends. And guy friends, we never talked about anything that mattered. It was just like sports or whatever. It's weird. A lot of my friends have known him 20 years. I don't know anything about them. Not a thing. I have this one friend, Jay. I don't know anything about him. I don't know his feelings. I don't know his race. I don't know. I don't even know how to find out at this point. I just have to watch the next Olympics opening ceremony with him. See which flag he smiles at. Oh, Belarus. You don't talk about anything. But in a relationship, you have to talk about shit. Like, it's forced out of you. Like, you don't have a choice, right? And now I get when, sometimes you hear married men, they'll say about their wives sometimes, like, oh, she's my best friend. But whenever you hear a guy say that, I think what he's really saying is, like, I realized I never had a friend. I think she's actually the first person to ask me a follow-up question or maybe even know what my eye color is. It's Hazel. Who knew? It was Hazel. That's why it's nice having a female friend, even like an acquaintance, Because like guy friends, you don't talk about anything, but a woman to be like, how you feeling lately? It's like, I think you're my emergency contact. I don't know. You're the closest person to me in my life. I was talking to some friends, we were talking about like what types we're attracted to, dating-wise, and my friend, he says something I've heard a lot of guys say. He's like, I'm more attracted to women who are like naturally pretty, like without wearing any makeup. That's a thing you often hear men say, and they say it as if they're being like down to earth. Or humble. But if you think about it, that's really the highest standard you can have for any person. Just to be like, look, I'm a simple dude. All I'm asking for is a face-born perfect, all right? It's like, what do you think of being picky? I don't need some like dolled up Hollywood actress. I just want one of God's home runs. Is that so crazy? It's gonna be a masterpiece. That's nuts. I think you should be able to have sex with friends over strangers. I don't know if my friends agree. It's weird. People act like sex is more intimate than friendship, but then we're willing to give that away more easily. Like, people go to a bar, meet somebody, and hook up with them, and that's just like an accepted thing that happens sometimes. But it's like way more rare than anyone ever like go to a bar and like make a friend. And if you did, everyone would think that was way weirder. If you're like, hey, last night I went out, had a couple drinks, met someone, they helped me move. People be like, what? That's less intimate. Like a stranger, that's who you let see you naked. You don't help them move a couch. That's... I think you have a problem. You have to stop drinking. My uncle, he dates these much younger women. He's pretty embarrassing. He's like 60. I met his girlfriend. She's like 20. But I met her, and she was like, well, I like dating older men because I feel like boys my age are so immature. So I like dating older men because I feel like they're more mature, So that's who's mature. Old men that date 20-year-olds. Group seems to have their handle on shit. I was talking to him, and he was like, well, she's great, but her friends are so annoying. All her friends are so annoying. Wonder if that's because they're 20. Also, it's so interesting. A 20-year-old who's having sex with you is cool, and the ones who aren't are not. What could the difference be? We'll never know. He was like, well, honestly, she's more mature than I am. And it's like, yeah. She's acting her age, and you're acting her age. She wins. It's tough to like own your own, whatever your issues are, or just run from it. That's easier. I was watching this Netflix thing about David Blaine. You guys know David Blaine? I think I hate that guy. He's like a magician. He'll do all these challenges. I think all these like challenge guys, they're just like running from their own shit, like David Blaine, like he'll pop up once in a while. He'll be like, it was in an underwater submarine tank for 8 months and I let myself out of it. And it's like, yeah, nobody asked you to do that. What did you do that for? Nobody put you down there. What do you do, a challenge? Why don't you stay and let someone love you on land? That's a challenge. Why don't you stay and accept love from someone and love them back? That seems to be a greater challenge. He has a kid. I think that's why I want to spit in his face so much, because he has a kid. Because for every David Blaine, there's a Bobby Blaine. And he's 8 years old, and he's like, Dad, can we play catch? And he's like, I'd love to, but I gotta get in the tank. And he's like, why? He's like, because then I'm gonna let myself out of it. You see, son, I dare myself. And that kid's gonna keep getting older, and the stunts are gonna keep getting dumber. He's gonna be like, Dad, are you gonna come to my high school graduation? He'd be like, son, I would love to, but who's gonna stand under the knives? 8,000 knives that need standing under for 9 months for no apparent reason. All right. Cool. You're cool. Or like Free Solo, you guys know that guy? It's a Free Solo. It was a documentary, it's Free Solo. It's this guy, he climbs rocks without a rope. Documentary with this guy, won an Oscar, he climbs these rocks without a rope, and it's very impressive how high a rock he can climb to avoid whatever he's avoiding down here. It's really, really impressive. It's clearly something, right? You don't climb rocks that high that often unless you're more afraid of what it would mean to not climb the rock. You're more scared of what's on the ground. Is that fair? He's got this girlfriend in the movie. They have this like psychotic relationship, and she's like, we really have to talk about our issues. And he's like, we will once I climb this rock. Believe me, we're gonna circle back to this, but I really have to climb this rock that isn't going anywhere. Fucking coward. We reward him so much, like he's so brave. They give him an Oscar, he's so brave. It's like, is it brave? Is it brave? Is it brave to climb a rock if you know your girlfriend who's mad at you isn't on top? Is that brave? If you told that guy, like, hey, Sarah's at the top of the rock and she's gonna want to talk about shit, he's climbing right back down. He's jumping in the water, getting in the tank with David. He's gonna hide for a year. He's a coward. He's a fucking coward. I like reading interviews with like writers or artists or like successful people and all that. But the annoying thing, I'll read that shit and then they ask like, how'd you get successful? And they all say the same thing. It's like, oh, hard work. I just worked hard. And then you read more and you find out like, oh, a lot of them were wealthy. But they never say that. They're never like, well, I had a lot of money and that gave me room to fail for years. But they should. Even the guy who discovered gravity, Isaac Newton, right? He found it because he was sitting underneath an apple tree, and an apple fell on his head, and he's like, oh, that's weird. And then he spent the next 10 years developing the theory of gravity. Which, that's, like, cool, but also just meant he had 10 years to fuck around until he could get the right equation. Do you really think he was, like, the first dude to notice that shit was falling down? Of course not. Of course there's some dude who's like working a tailor shop or something. He's like dropping the clothes. He's like, hey, why do you think the clothes fall down when I drop? And the boss is like, I don't, just stop dropping the pants, okay? Getting dirt on these pants. You didn't have time to sit under an apple tree and brainstorm like a young king. Like, oh, do you guys follow that college admission scandal this year? That was pretty fun, right? That was my favorite. Felicity Huffman and Aunt Becky. What an awesome low-stakes scandal. They were just like, do you want to see Aunt Becky in prison? And we're all like, sure, yeah. Yeah, cost us nothing. The thing that's so funny about that is that it was only the moms who got in trouble. Because the dads are just paying zero attention. They're just all taking naps. It totally tracks because I would tutor kids sometimes for money, you know? Just for money, you know? Not for love of the game. When you tutor kids, you had to talk to the parents before you start working with the kids. It's funny, there's always a big difference when you talk to the mother and the father in terms of how much they know about their own kids. The mom is always way more on top of her shit. I was talking to one mom. She was like, okay, my son, he got a 65 in the last math test, a 58 in the last science test, and a 46 on his last French test. Talks to the dad, and he'd be like, my son, I think he's 9. I want to say 9, but that's plus or minus 3. Do not quote me, because I haven't checked. So I had to adjust updates for the parents based on which one I was talking to. If I was talking to the mom, like, all right, he's doing better in math. He needs some more work in French. And the dad would come in, he'd be like, how's my boy doing? I'll be like, your son is 12. And he'd be like, all right, huh? Not bad. Yeah. Keep up the good work. You hear that, honey? 9 or something. Just instantly forgets. I worked with one kid who was homeschooled. Man, that kid had no friends. None of you care. Shut up. What a crazy decision to make, to homeschool a kid. How are they going to make friends that way? Do you guys remember school? It's tough making friends when other kids were near you. Alone in your room? You're going to bank on your mom? Mm-hmm. I was working with this kid one day, right? And I was teaching him math, right? And I was using a calculator because I don't know math, I never learned it. And the mom takes me aside and she was like, you cannot use a calculator. And I was like, you can, it's so easy, It's like basically magic, She's like, no, I don't want him to see you use a calculator and then think that's okay and then have problems in his life going forward. It's like, lady, you think a calculator is what's going to make him have problems in his life going forward? I'm his best friend. That's a way bigger problem. We're going to make a list of who to invite to his birthday party. It was his sister and me. That's a huge issue. You're right, he doesn't need a calculator. He can add up to 2 friends on his own. You don't need fancy technology for that. I remember one day the kid, he asked me to help him in science, and I said, sure. And then he showed me the science problems, and it was physics. Any of you guys know physics? It's like impossible. It can't be done. It's a myth. When he said science, I said it could help because I thought it was biology. Biology is easy. Biology is most like, did you know that there's frogs and plants? And you're like, sure, whatever. I guess I'm a scientist. I always kind of suspected, but never had proof. But physics, all these equations and shit, it's like density over square root of mass. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? It made me understand it. It made me get why people embrace religion and God over science. Because there's no equations. So easy. Just believe. I think that's the best thing religion has going for it, is the lack of math. I don't know why they're not leaning into that. That should be the slogan. Outside of every church. Right? Just like church. No math. You'd be like, I'm going at least once a week, maybe more. I'm not counting. That sounds awesome. I didn't know how to answer the question. I told the kid, just write God. It's fine. Just write God. You don't have to show your work. The creator shows his. It's all okay. This is his test. This isn't ours. Pencils down. Prayer hands up. A lot of those word problems for kids, they're darker than they need to be, I think. We forget that. A lot of train collisions. These trains are always colliding. You know what I mean? It'd be like train A at rush hour is going 100 miles an hour, collides with train B going 125 miles an hour. If B accelerates at this velocity, at what speed is it upon impact? A lot of people are dead, Are we doing math at a time like this? They're human lives, Like rush hour? Why'd it have to be rush hour? Just so you knew the trains were packed? What did that add to the problem? That adds nothing to the problem. It's always rush hour. It never needs to be rush hour. It could easily be 3 a.m. We're asking the wrong things. 2 trains crash at rush hour. Where do you give blood? That's the question. Get your fucking math out of here, you monsters. Get your goddamn math away. Have a heart. It'll either be train collisions or about how, like, resources are scarce. You know what I mean? It'd be like, Lisa earns $6.10 an hour and rent is $800 a month. If the price of rent goes up 30%, how many hours does Lisa have to work? I don't know, Lisa's not going to make it through the winter. You know, she needs more money, you know? If rent goes up 30%, I don't know, let's simplify this. What kind of God would do this to a person? Lisa be on the streets. Where is she going to go? She can't stay on those trains. Not in these problems. These are the devil's problems. I worked in a preschool. That was what I did for a very short time, right out of school. And I liked it. I enjoyed it. I was like just assisting there, so I didn't care. It was weird. I felt like the head teachers there, they were trying to like enforce order over the kids when there was no reason to. It was like unnecessary. We did this exercise first day class. We set the kids in a circle, and we just had them say what kind of car they wanted to drive. They're like 3 years old. It's like an icebreaker game just to get them like use their imagination, you know. And they're like 3 years old, so they don't know. It's like the first kid in the circle. He's like, I want to drive a chocolate car. And the second kid, he's like, I want to drive a strawberry car. This is like saying desserts. They're idiots. You know, these are all flavors, you know, not manufacturers. The third kid, he's like, I want to drive a car with rainbow sprinkles. And the first kid is like, oh, I want to be in the rainbow sprinkles car. And then the head teacher, she jumps in. She's, no, kids, everybody has to stay in their own car. I just like started laughing. And she turned to me and was like, what is so funny? And I was like, these aren't real cars. This doesn't matter. It's like crazy at that moment. She was like, I gotta step in. Shit's getting out of hand here. Before we know, we have 6 kids in the strawberry car, and I'm chill. I'm all for a fake Kiwi car, but 9 kids in it? They could fake crash. I could have a fake lawsuit on my hands. That's fucking bananas. Bananas, that's Henry's car. Only 1 kid in that. That's Henry. If everything we do is we teach them letters, right? We teach them letters 2 at a time, right? One day we teach them the difference between the letter M and the letter F. We had these baskets, and they were labeled letter M, letter F, and these plastic toys, like a toy mustache, toy french fry, and the kids were called up, and they had to put in the basket which letter they thought the toy started with, right? So this kid, Ray, gets called up, and he picks up this toy fireman, but he starts to put it in the M basket. And the head teacher, she stops him. She's like, whoa, Ray, what are you holding there? And he looks at the fireman, he looks up at the teacher, and he's like, it's a man. And she's like, no, Ray, that's a fireman. And he's just 4, so we're just like, all right, I guess I'm a dumbass. What the fuck do I know? I'll be honest, I didn't even know these were letters 10 seconds ago, so I'll just internalize that stupidity and grow up with years of self-doubt and hatred, I guess. Seems like the next move. But I wanted to jump in and defend, be like, no, like, Ray's right on this one. He's a man. Like, I wish Ray was smart enough to stand up for himself in that moment and be like, yeah, he was a fucking fireman, but yeah, a man's more than his occupation, okay? Yeah, no shit, he's a fireman. I see his uniform. I'm looking beyond. I'm taking off his jacket. I'm seeing him for who he really is. We're all men at the end of the day. You know what? You're the problem, Miss Morgan. You're seeing this guy by vocation, socioeconomic status, and I'm seeing his soul. And I've been like, Jesus, Ray, that's well said for a 4-year-old, you know? I'm going to give you an A. I didn't even teach you the letter A. That's next week. I'm going to teach you that. I'm going to throw you in that M basket. You're a man now. I'm very proud of you. Very proud. I liked it. I liked being in that energy, you know? I'm one of the kids who was playing with this like sand pit that we had in the classroom, and I walk up to him and I was like, oh, what are you building there? Like a sand castle? And he's like, oh, no, just a sand house. I was like, damn, what a grounded kid. Like, that kid will never be disappointed in life. He's got his bar set nice and low. That's reasonable expectations, you know? Because we tell kids the wrong thing. We're like, build a castle. You will live in a castle, you know? And he won't. And he's not falling for that. I'm like, what are you building? He's like, sand, 1 bedroom. 5th floor walk up. I live with 6 roommates. No laundry in the building. The rent is high, but I'm grateful to have it. You know? I'm gonna put you in that M basket. You're a man now. I'm very proud of you. I saw a family last week for the holidays. Probably a lot of us did. I have so many friends, they bitch about having to see their family because they don't like their views. They complain about their fucked up views, like their political views, or religious views, or whatever. But it's like family, like they love you no matter what. That's the most fucked up view that they have. Unconditional love? That's crazy. I don't deserve that. None of you do, you know? Like my grandma, it's fucked up. She likes straight people more than gay people, you know? But she also loves me more than like Nelson Mandela. And that's as wrong. And I'm only trying to correct the thing that doesn't impact me. We all say we want our grandparents more progressive, open-minded, tolerant, whatever. I think that would stop as soon as their progressiveness at all interfered with how much they love us. Like, I want my grandma to be more open-minded. She's like, you know what, Dan, you're right. I should be more open-minded. So you know what, that $100 I mail you every year for your birthday, instead I'm going to send that to the ACLU. I'd be like, Grandma, you can't change people. You know, it's like, well, you don't need to reroute funds. Like, you know what, you were right. Just like love who you love, hate who you hate, and cash only. You know, low balance. My grandma's using the internet a lot. She emails and stuff, but she's bad at it. She falls for all these like internet scams, Nigerian prince. She fell for that scam. She lost $1,000 for that. She lost $1,000 online. It's not fair that we just like trick these old people online because they don't know any better. Like there should be some built-in protection for them. Like it's fucked up because you know if you're a parent, you could set that inner filter for your kids so they try to go to porn and like reroute to Disney.com. You know, but I've heard. You know. We should have that same protection for people over 80. Like anyone over 80, if they try to go to PayPal, it should just redirect to a nice picture of an oak tree, you know? My grandma's 90, she wouldn't even notice. Like, oh, a tree, that's probably what I wanted. Why do kids use the internet so much? It's mostly oak trees, from what I can see. Kids are so strange. It's such an odd bunch. My grandma is a painter. She is an artist. This is what she's done her whole life. This is 100% true. Is she paints many paintings, big wall hangings of Jews in the Holocaust. So there's that. She's Jewish. I need to say that. I should clarify that. But she also wasn't in it. So it's really just fan art, which is really weirder than anything. So she paints them, that's her thing. Whatever, that's not my business. But where I come in is she says when she dies, she's going to leave me 100 of them. 100, which is a lot of that. 100 of any painting is a lot. If someone's like, I'm going to leave you 100 paintings of lobsters, you'd be like, well, that's quite a few lobsters. I don't know what I'm going to do with that many. She's leaving them in a trust. She's leaving them in a trust. I'm going to get them when I'm 35 years old, which is a very weird thing where it's like, I have no idea where I'm going to be at that point in my life. It's years from now. I don't know what I'll be doing, where I'll be living, family, friends, anything. The only thing I'm sure of is that on my 35th birthday, there'll be a knock on my door and some confused U-Haul truck delivery driver just holding it being like, man, I hope this guy is Jewish. Like, what am I about to meet? What crazed collector? My grandma is Jewish, and so am I. It just kept going. Couldn't shake it. She tried to teach me a lot about Jewish history and stuff. I remember when I was a kid, she had this book on her bookshelf. It was this book about Hitler. It was the unauthorized biography of Hitler. Unauthorized. that always seemed so funny to me because it's like saying well, you know, he killed Jews and invaded nations and led a mass genocide, but there's some shit he didn't want you to know. There's some things. He had some skeletons in his closet. Did Hitler? There wasn't all sunshines and Holocaust. There were some secrets. What could it have been? It was so terrible that Hitler's estate was like, oh, don't print that. We don't want people to know that he was bar mitzvahed. That's gonna hurt his rep. So I'm from New York City. Is anyone else from New York? No? Okay. Weird, yeah. I've had a lot of weird jobs. It's the weirdest job I ever had. For 3 months, 100% true, I was a greeter at the 9/11 Museum. Now, when you interview there, they ask you some fun questions. They ask you, why do you think you'd be a good fit for the 9/11 Museum? Tell us 2 things about yourself. It's like, probably hardworking and sad about 9/11. If I had to pick 2, really jumped out at me. Just those 2. It's a great customer service job, though. Has anyone worked customer service before? People are rude to you. People are shitty to you. 9/11 Museum, it's the best customer service job you can have because only customer service job where in response to someone being rude to you, you can easily and acceptably make them cry. Can't do that if you work at a Chili's, you know? If a lady's yelling at you, she's like, I want my steak rare, not well done. You can't be like, hey, remember 9/11, all right? That was rare, okay? And well done. Let's chill. Have some perspective. I've been doing more shows out of town lately. I did a show in Philly a few weeks ago. I went with another comedian. We had to take a Greyhound bus to the show. And my friend, he bought the tickets, and he's like, oh, don't worry, Dan. I bought first class Greyhound bus tickets. First class of the Greyhound. That is a special level of self-delusion. You're trying to make yourself feel better than people you're just not better than. At all. You just sit in the first row. That's all that happens. First, which, like, you're not fooling it, but nobody's getting on and looking at the first row and be like, oh, he's probably a senator. Like, they know. Like, you're garbage, you know? We're all just different shades of trash. But I get it, though. He wants to feel important. Like, it's tough not to feel like nothing when you're on a bus, you know? Like, if I hear somebody say, like, oh, if you want to feel insignificant, just look up at the stars. You ever hear somebody say that if you want to feel insignificant, just gaze up at the stars, you know? I don't know, has anyone really ever had a hard time feeling insignificant? It's just kind of my default. Like, my first job ever, I bagged groceries. I didn't have to be reminded about the vastness of space. Like, I knew how little I mattered. I knew where I stood cosmically. I feel like if you're on public transportation, you know you're insignificant. Like, you don't have to look up at the Milky Way. There's a Butterfinger smushed to your chair. Like, you should get it. It should be clear. That self-delusion thing, that's important, though, you know? I had to go and get my ID renewed recently. I had to go to the DMV to do it. I filled out the form, gave it to the lady behind the counter, the DMV, and she had shown my old ID also, and she was, like, comparing it, and she was looking at it, and she was like, what's your height? And I was like, it's 5'8". And then she's like, right, I'm just asking because your old ID said you were 5'9". So what happened? And I was like, I just stopped lying to myself about being 5'9". It was like, just like deluding myself, like maybe I'll grow. It was like aspirational. But then I realized you can just write whatever on the ID and they have to put it on there, you know? Like, nobody fact checks it. You can just make it up. Be who you want to be, you know? Have a real fake ID. It's a fun thought because if I died and they had to, like, ID my body, they would just be looking at it like, oh, this is a photo of him, but none of this shit adds up. It's like 6'6", piercing blue eyes. Under organ donor, it just says, it's huge. What does it say that? That's not him. That's the wrong name. I had a friend, he sent me a dick pic by mistake that he meant to send to a lady. So I woke up to it, which, that's like a very effective alarm, by the way. I don't know if you guys have trouble waking up for work, but you're not gonna get to snooze on a man's cock. You are gonna feel like you have to jog. Run that off. So I woke up to a dick pic and 9 apology texts. Being like, dude, I'm so sorry. I did not mean to text that to you. I meant this woman I've been seeing, but it could have been worse. So like, your name's Dan, my ex-wife, her name's Danielle. Imagine if she got that text, I could be back in court. I could lose my daughter. Oh, please delete this. I'll pay you. But it's just funny how confidence works, because like he panicked so much that it let me fuck with him. Or think about it, if he just sent me that dick pic and was like, yeah, look at it, stupid, then I would have felt uncomfortable. And he could have fucked with me. Like I would have felt like, I don't know, should I send one back? I've never situation before. This feels like a dare. I've tried to have more confidence. I think I've gotten a lot better at that. It's still seasonal, though. I think I do much better in winter. I can just hide in my hoodies. Summer is a weird time. There's all this exposed chest hair from guys. It's just a level of confidence I'll never reach. It's weird. A lot of people think stand-up is brave, and it's just, like, not. I just say shit I wrote in clubs or bars or whatever. That's, like, nothing to me compared to the confidence I think it takes to, like put on a button-down shirt and get, like, 3 buttons up and then be like, I'm good, you know? The rest is for the people. Like, 1 button undone, that's for you. More than 1, that's for the fans, you know? God bless. It'd be nice if you could be more, like, emotional publicly, you know, especially as a man. You're supposed to stay more stoic. That's what winter is kind of nice for that, because, like, everyone's pretty sad. Some of us are sad all year round, but, you know. Winter's so interesting because that's when you get the seasonal depressives that come in, and they sort of like gentrify sadness, you know? You know what I mean? Like they come in and they're sad for their winter reasons, you know? They're like, we're sad, it's cold. And it's like, well, that's not what this community is about, but all right, welcome. Sorry, you can't wear shorts. Even in songs, I was trying to think, what can you be sad about in songs? You can never just be generally sad. You always got to be sad about something. There's never just like a general sad song of just like, you know, it's an indiscernible sadness. Yeah. There's no objective reason. On paper, things are good. And yet. It's always just breakups. Millions of breakup songs. You'd think that's the only shit people got sad about. I've only been through 4 breakups in my life. I don't know how many times I've been sad. It's north of 4. We're above 4. I wasn't even sad about all 4 breakups. I was only sad about 2 of them. If I had to write songs about all 4 of my breakups, 2 of them would be pump-up jams, you know? I enjoy them at the gym. Got a good run in. 90% sad songs are breakup songs, and the other 10% sad songs are about, like, racism. Which it should probably be reversed. There should be more sad songs about racism than if we're ranking sad things, you know. Probably the ultimate sad song would be like a racist breakup song. But I've thought about this, and I feel your tension. I've thought about this. And it would have to be, obviously, you got broken up with because they're a racist. It couldn't be you got broken up with because they found out you're a racist. If you're a racist, you can't sing about it. I think that's fair, right? You can't do that. That's just country music, you know? There's no room for that, except in most of the country. I've been getting emotional at weird times lately. I'm usually not an emotional person. I was setting up internet in my apartment. I started to tear up when I was answering the password security questions. Like, you know, if you forget your password, because they're all bringing back, like, strong nostalgia for me. They were just, like, asking shit I hadn't thought about in so long. It was, like, questions like, who's your childhood best friend? I was just like, Jesus, Brian Matthews. I haven't seen him in years. I don't even know where he is. There's like questions like first pet. It was like name one safe space. Like, it got to the point of like, I don't even want internet anymore. I just wanted to like go home and hug my mom, ask her what her maiden name was, because I don't remember. I am locked out. I do need Wi-Fi. I've struggled with depression a little bit. I don't know if anyone else here has. I'm from New York City. That's just not the place to deal with that, you know? A few years ago, I called a suicide hotline. I don't know if you guys know. Okay, so there's two of them. So there's a national one, and then there's a New York one. So the national one, they just let you talk for as long as you need. They just like stay on the phone with you. And the New York one, I swear, they hang up after 10 minutes. Which that should tell you like everything you need to know about New York. They're like most of the country's like, look, we just want to help. We just want you to be okay. And like New Yorkers are just like, yeah, how'd you get this number? What do you want? And I'm like, yeah, is this the suicide? Hotline? And he's like, yeah, suicide hotline, make it quick. A lot of shit to do, so. I'm like, yeah, I just been in a lot of pain. And he's like, yo, buddy, you gotta speak up. You can't mumble this shit, there's fucking noise, you know? I just feeling down a lot, so I wanna like isolate myself, because I feel bad you don't be around people, you know, but that's not, it just kind of makes it worse, you know, so just feels like I'm kind of spiraling down a drain, you know? Hello? Is anyone there? You're like, yeah, sorry, buddy. I'm actually getting the train now, so I gotta hang up. This fucking city, man. I swear to God. Jesus, you think you got problems. But, I tell you what. Hey, keep your chin up and, hey, go Mets, okay? They're all Mets fans. It's tough to find people who you feel like you can actually talk to or feel like, well, listen, you know, or you can speak to without fear of judgment, you know? I'm very jealous of people who have no fear of judgment, who could just be fully who they are with no hesitation, you know? I've been thinking about that a lot this year, because this year I met Dennis Rodman. Do you guys know Dennis Rodman? Does anyone not know Dennis Rodman? If anyone needs a recap. Okay, so Dennis Rodman, he was a Hall of Fame basketball player, played with Michael Jordan, a crazy person. He had rainbow hair, he pierced his dick, cheated on Carmen Electra and Madonna, best friends with Kim Jong-un, wore a wedding dress after a game one time. When they asked him why, he said, because I'm cool as fuck. Married himself on television. Anyway, I did his relationship advice podcast. Because when you pierce your dick and marry yourself on TV, you're like, I should pass this wisdom on to the kids. Selfish to hang on to all of it myself. So I did it with my friend. She and I pretended to be in a relationship. We were not actually dating, but they were looking for couples, and I wanted to meet him. And I've always said this: when only one lie stands between you and Dennis Rodman, you tell it. So we met him. We met Dennis Rodman. Man, if you're wondering how's Dennis Rodman's relationship advice, just, you know, questionable. This is the first thing Dennis Rodman said to me. First thing Dennis Rodman, best friend of Kim Jong-un, said to me. I just walk in and I'm just wearing like a regular hoodie, and he looks me up and down. And he's like, "Oh, look at you, all gay." I was like, you can't say that. And he tries to backpedal. He's like, no, I meant like happy and gay. Which, like, man, what a rebound. Truly one of the great rebounders. A weird save on Rodman's part. I don't know if I come off gay, but I still want to come off happy. I definitely come off a gayer person than I do a happy individual. I went because I just wanted to make fun of him. I just wanted to make up a name or some identity and then just like kind of laugh at him, you know. But my friend, she gave our real info. So they had that we were comedians. They had our real name. So I was like, all right, fine, pivot. Full sincerity to Dennis Rodman. I'll just talk about real relationship issues I've had in this fake context to Kim Jong-un's friend. We'll see how it goes. He was like, how long have you been with your girlfriend, who is not my girlfriend? And I was like, 2 years. And he was like, shit, 24 months. Rodman is weirdly good at math. He does not need religion. His biggest advice, he's like, always play it cool. That was his biggest advice. He's like, you always have to play it cool. He's like, one time Carmen Electra, she walked in on me, and I was having a threesome with 2 women in our bed, so I just played it cool. I was like, how do you play that cool? And he's like, well, she walked in and she was like, who the fuck are these women? So I just said, what women? I don't see any women here. And he's like, stuff like that works. I was like, how long are you guys married? He's like 5 months. So I was like, well, it didn't work. Like, it's maybe the opposite of what it means to work. And it makes sense why you measure relationships in months. It suddenly adds up. But he has no filter at all. Once he found out I was Jewish, he had a real field day with that. Rodman has some theories. He's like, you're Jewish? My producer out there, he's Jewish. He's always saying shit like, oh, I'm Jewish, I'm gonna go get my teeth cleaned. It's just like a new stereotype. He's so unique, he does anti-Semitism differently. Most people, like the Jews, they run the banks, he's like, with those pearly whites. They're always flossing. And then after we're done recording, I was like, what are you doing after this? And he's like, I have a dentist appointment. He was gonna go get his teeth cleaned like a fucking Jew. It's cultural appropriation, according to him and him alone. It's a bizarre thing where it's like, I almost felt bad for him because it's like he has nobody. He's been so unique. It was after a suicide attempt, that's when he decided I'm going to be fully unique and not care what anybody thinks of me. But then he's got nobody. Like, I was the 3rd guest on his podcast. He ran out of people that weren't me after 2. It's crazy. Like, imagine being so unique and isolated. You have to become friends with one of the most sociopathic, psychotic lunatics, Michael Jordan, and Kim Jong-un. But I'm jealous of just some aspects of him. Like, you guys know the phrase on second thought? Sure. Rodman doesn't. He has half a thought and a full action. One time he posed nude for PETA, you know, the animal rights organization. He announced, I support PETA, and posed nude for them. Something PETA didn't ask him to do. Nobody asked him to do it. Imagine that. He was just like, I like ducks, here's my dick. And he won 5 championships. We should all be 10% more like Dennis Rodman. And Rodman should be 90% less like Dennis Rodman. And that's the only math I can do. But it's weird, because I did find myself like opening up to him at some point, because I felt like, you're afraid to open up because you're afraid to be judged, right? But he's not going to judge you because he's so weird. He's so himself, it lets you be yourself. So I could just be honest and be like, yeah, I don't know, I feel like I'm very slow to trust people because I feel like I've been burned, and I'm nervous to trust fall into somebody because I feel like I don't think ultimately anybody will care about me enough to sacrifice their own immediate wants and self-interests, you know? And he'd just be like, yeah, I ate a squirrel. And he'd be like, all right, well, I guess those are both sentences. And yet I feel safe. You've added perspective. I think you're my emergency contact. I don't know. Thank you guys so much. Dan Perlman, have a great night.
Keep it going for Dan, huh?